Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here I have another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly and then we'll go through these in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the classic pens, and this is the LB5 in the Kaiseki. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagar. We have a Visconti Millionaire in the marble green. We have a Visconti Millionaire in the Empire Honey. We have a Visconti Brunelleschi. We have a Visconti Opera Master Corvina. We have a Visconti Opera Master Stardust. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero in the Mediterraneo. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero in the Hawaii. And then last but not least, we have the Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. So I think let's just look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the classic pens LB5. I have this currently inked up this week, and this has been a pen that I've been writing with quite a lot in the last few months. I really love this diffusion bonded acrylic. So basically, what does diffusion bonded acrylic mean? Well, it means that they stack layer on layer on layer on layer of acrylic sheets, and then they compress it and make it fuse together at the molecular level. So it's effectively called diffusion bonded acrylic. So the LB5, although it's a classic pen made by Andy Lambrou, this is actually made by Sailor for Andy at Classic Pens or Lambrou Pens. So you can see here Kaiseki, the number here, and it says Sailor. So this is a Sailor King of Pen, although it's slightly longer than a regular Sailor King of Pen, but it's made by Sailor. And this is why I like this pen so much. Now, these are very hard to come by nowadays. You can get them, but they are very expensive. So this has the Sailor King of Pen lib, and you can see there 1911, and this is a 21 karat gold nib, and it's a medium nib, and you can probably see the M there on the side of the nib. So this is an Asian nib, so a medium nib writes more like a Western fine, or somewhere between a Western fine and a Western medium nib. But this for me actually writes really, really nicely. So I have that pen inked up this week. And then you can see here what I mean, that the pen, the LB5, is just slightly longer than the Sailor King of Pen. So this is the Sailor King of Pen, and this is the Sakura Nagar, and this is a Raden maki-e pen. So you can see the Raden here, and the maki-e is the sort of way that they actually put the Raden on, and the gold dust, and it's lacquered over, although you can actually feel these Raden shells, these abalone shells, but it has got a lacquer over the top of it. Now this pen is absolutely stunning, and I'm very glad that I was able to add this to my collection. I am writing with this pen immensely. I really do love it. I like with the LB5, I just love writing with this. So this is a Sailor King of Pen. It says Sailor here, and then it says Japan, founded in 1911, and I'll show you the nib here. The nib again is a 21 karat gold, but this is a broad nib, not a medium nib, and there's a little bit of nib creep going on there with some ink. You can see I've got an orange ink in that nib, in that pen at the moment, but this is just gorgeous, and you can probably see why that I'm writing with this pen a lot, because I do like that pen. And then we have a Visconti, and I haven't written with these for a while, so I thought I'd better ink these back up again. This is the Visconti Millionaire, and it's a pen made of solid marble. It's the marble green version, And you can see there, this really is quite interesting. So this is a very heavy pen. It doesn't have the Visconti My Pen finial on there, unfortunately, because these models don't. And then it comes with a 23 cap palladium nib, and this is a medium nib. But you can see in the size of my hand, this is actually quite a nice size. Now, it's not a power vac. You might think that this is a power vac or a piston knob, but it's not. These pens come with the old style push-pull, and this is really an interesting old style mechanism, and it's really just like a standard piston basically. So what you do is you push it in to expel ink and pull it out to suck up the ink. So I've just cleaned that out again because I wanted to swap inks for today. So I will ink that up with another ink before we continue. But this is quite a heavy pen, and it's a pen that I like writing with, but the ink capacity is only around about 0.5, 0.6 milliliters of ink, so it's not a huge capacity, and it's a very wet writer. And then I have this one, and this again is another Visconti Millionaire, but this is the Empire, or the Marble Empire Honey. And you can see here this material again is quite nice, but again made of solid marble. So this is a very, very heavy pen. These are heavy pens. You can post the caps if you want, but they become very back weighted. If I try to balance a pen, it's going like this. It's really quite heavy. But for me, I do like these pens, and I'd love to pick up maybe one or two more of the marbles, because they had, I think, 3 or probably 4 different marble finishes, and one of them didn't actually appeal to me that much, but one does. But unfortunately, I can't find it for what I got these for, and these were actually really good prices. So I wouldn't pay much more than what I paid for that. I'm not going to say what I paid for it, but there are the prices online on eBay and that are actually quite high for what that pen I think is really worth. And then we have this one, and this is the Visconti Brunelleschi, and just like the Homo sapiens, which are made out of basaltic lava fused with resin, this is actually made out of terracotta fused with resin. And it creates a very sort of like brick-like rubbery effect, but this is actually a nice pen, nice size, nice weight. It's not a double reservoir, but it does have the hook safe lock mechanism. It has a 23 cap palladium nib, and it's a medium nib. I do like this. I like how it writes, and I like the look of it. My only real issue with this is that, and the same with the lava models, and the same with probably most of these actually, you can't see the ink level. I have to admit, I do prefer to see the ink level in a pen without having to test it or find that I'm writing dry. So it's a pen that I haven't had inked up a lot lately, but I like how it writes. So, and I went through a long time of having it inked up, so I do need to actually write with that pen some more. And then we have this one, and it's a Visconti Opera Master, and these Opera Masters are always heavy pens, and this is the Corvina. Now this is a Trufe exclusive, and you can only buy this from trufeinc.com, and that's Trufe, TRUPHAEINC.com. But this is a really nice Opera Master. I decided when I got these I would get them with a 23 cap palladium stub nib, and it's a 1.3mm stub nib. I'm not actually writing a lot with stub nibs lately, so I decided I would actually get these and ink these up. So again, here's the other one, and this is a Visconti Opera Master Stardust, And again, this is from Truffet. It's a Truffet exclusive. This time, it's more of a galaxy or stardust effect, and it has ruthenium coloured trim, sort of a blackened metal, gunmetal. And you'll see here that, again, this in the size of the hand is actually quite good. So for me, again, it's another stub nib that I have, and I've not been writing with stub nibs lately, so I decided that's it. I'm going to start to write with a few stubs again, and I've been going more for fine and medium nibs lately, and maybe some broad nibs, but I thought I would try and ink up some stub nibs for a change. And then there's this pen, and this is the Leonardo, and it's the Officina Italiana momento-zero in the Mediterraneo. And Mediterraneo, or Mediterranean, basically is trying to denote the sea, and you can see the sea waves in this celluloid, and it is celluloid, it's not a resin. And this also has a gold nib on it as well, and it's a pen that I like. It's a piston filling pen as well. It's a 14 karat gold nib there, you can see, with an ebonite feed, but this is a really nice pen. It's a medium nib that I have on this one, and I like how it writes. And again, it's just a pen, because I have so many pens, it's a pen that I've not been writing a lot with lately, so I thought I would again ink it up, try and rotate my pens a little bit more, and here it is, it's inked up today. And then we have this one, and it's a Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero, and it's the Hawaii. So this is a really, really nice sort of beach type Hawaii effect going on here in that material. And as soon as I saw this pen advertised, I knew it was a pen that I was going to have to add to my collection. And I'm glad I did. I got this from Stefano at Stilograph Corsani when he visited the London Pen Show, and I'm just glad that I have this in my collection. I decided to actually have, because it's a still nib, I decided actually to have a broad nib on this pen. So it has a broad nib, and it's just got a plastic ABS feed on it. This one is a cartridge converter because it is a still nib, but I like it, and I like how that pen looks, and I probably would go for more of those actually, but maybe more in a medium nib perhaps. Not that I dislike the broad nibs, but I just am writing more with medium at the moment. And then last but not least, we have the Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight, and this, you can see, is a very captivating pen. It is Raden strips there going on throughout this pen, and this was a pen that I added in February 2020 to my collection, and this has a standard Pelikan M1000 nib, and it's a medium nib that you get on these with an ABS plastic feed, but it's a very big feed. These hold quite a bit of ink, around about 1 to 1.5 milliliters of ink, but that pen also is really nice to actually write with. So I have that pen inked up as well. So that's my currently inked pens for this week. I think let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Classic Pens LB5. So I think let's do an ink swatch here. Now, I mentioned that this is an Asian medium nib, so it's more like a Western fine nib. I also find this ink is a little bit more dry in this pen. So this is the Classic Pens LB5 Kaoseki, and it is a medium nib, although it's more of a Western fine, and it's a 21 karat gold nib because it's a sailor nib, and it's a King of Pen number 8 size nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it is Sakushi, or horse's tail, which for me is quite a nice brown ink. It's more of a, I'd say like a chestnut colour brown. And then the next pen here is the Sailor King pen, and it's a Sakura Nagar. So let's do an ink swatch, and I have this inked up with an orange ink. If I was to match this to maybe the colour of the pen, I'd probably actually do a yellow ink or a goldy ink, but I don't like yellow ink so much because they do tend to be very, very dry. So this is the Sailor King of pen, Sakura Nagar, and it is a broad, and it's a 21 cat gold nib. The next pen is the Visconti Millionaire in the marble green. So we'll do an ink swatch, and you'll see here that this is quite a wet nib. So this is the Visconti Millionaire, and it's the marble green, and you'll notice that I'm not actually matching the colour to the pen, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But this is a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Aurora and Klinger, and it is an N after the G, Klinger, and it's Alt or Old Bordeaux. And the reason why I'm not matching the ink, because I normally do match inks to the pen colours, the reason why is that when I got the pen, when I purchased the pen and it arrived, I didn't know what to ink it up with. So I decided to try this new ink I had, and the ink was very wet in this pen, and it was a gorgeous writer. And because of that, I've just not paired it with anything else since. The next pen is the Visconti Millionaire, and this is the Marble Empire Honey. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a yellowy ink, and you can see that this is actually quite a dry ink. So this is the problem with a lot of yellow inks, is that they do tend to be quite dry, and that's why I didn't have this in the Sailor King pen nib. And I actually just realised I didn't actually write what ink was in that one. I'll go back and do that in a moment. So this is the Visconti Millionaire, and this is the Marble, and it's the Honey, Empire Honey. And this is a medium 23 cat palladium nib. Now this is more of an apricot coloured ink. It's not like a true yellow, and you can probably see that here. The ink in this pen is Akamon, and I know I'm not going to pronounce this properly, but it's Jelly Ochre Van Frans. But I went through a phase wanting an apricot ink, and I came across this ink from Akamon, and I thought I would try it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I do like it. It's just that all yellow or apricot style inks tend to be quite dry. Now I will just go back and just make a note here. The Sailor King pen is KWZ Grapefruit, which is a nice ink that I like, and that's more of an orangey red or a reddish orange going on there. The next pen is the Visconti Brunelleschi. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see this is quite a wet nib, but not as wet as this one was. So this is the Visconti Brunelleschi, and see if I can actually spell it right. It's 1 N, 2 L's. Brunelleschi, and it's a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is the same one as this one. It's Aurora and Klingner Alt Bordeaux. But you can see that there is a very difference in the colour there going on between those two nibs. The next pen is the Visconti Opera Master Corvina. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I did say that this was a stub nib, so it is quite a wide nib. It's the Visconti Opera Master Corvina, and it is a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. But you can see there that it is quite a wide nib, and this is why I've just not been writing with my stub nibs lately. And the ink in here is Visconti Bordeaux. So you can see actually the Visconti Bordeaux is actually quite different than the Raw and Klinger Bordeaux, or Old Bordeaux. The next pen is the Visconti Opera Master Stardust. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this one I do tend to actually find writes a little bit more wider than the other one. So this is the Visconti. There you go. Visconti Opera Master. And it's the Stardust. And it's a 1.3mm stub, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And you can see there actually, there's quite a difference there in that line width. I'd say this almost writes like a 1.5mm stub, to be honest. And the ink in here is the same ink. It's Visconti Bordeaux. But you can see there, the line variation is actually quite a lot of difference. If this was a 1.3, then I would say this one was a 1.1. But in my experience, this is more of a 1.3. So this has got to be a 1.4, 1.5, I would say. The next pen is the Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero in the Mediterraneo. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a much narrower nib. Now, this is a 14 karat gold nib, which is, for me, is actually quite rigid. But I also find that this medium nib actually writes more like a fine to me. So this is the Leonardo, and this is the momento-zero. I'm going to abbreviate it a little bit. And it's the Mediterraneo. And it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue. But that is a really lovely light blue ink. Now the next pen is the Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero in the Hawaii. So let's do another ink swatch. Now, this is a broad nib and actually writes more like a Western broad to me. But it is a steel nib, it's not a gold nib. So this is Leonardo. And I'm going to abbreviate this again. It's the Hawaii. And it's a broad and it's a steel nib. But it writes really nicely. And then the ink in here is Robert Oster Blue Water Ice, which again is another blue ink that I do write with quite a bit, and I'm not really a blue ink kind of person, but every now and again I do crack out the blue inks and start writing with them again. And then last but not least we have this one, and it's a Pelikan M1000 Varden Sunlight. So we'll do an ink swatch. And with this pen, because it comes with so many different Varden colours, I probably will change the colour at some point, but I have this colour in it at the moment. So this is the Pelikan M1000 Varden Sunlight. It's a medium and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Franklin Christoph, and it's Sweet Maroon. And that is a lovely dark maroony red ink. So I think let's just go through the currently inked pens one more time. We have a Classic Pens LB5 Kaoseki in a medium 21 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Washizuku Sakushi. A Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagar in a broad 21 karat gold nib, inked up with KWZ Grapefruit. A Visconti Millionaire Marble Green with a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Rohrer and Klingner Alt Bordeaux. We have a Visconti Millionaire in the Marble Honey in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Ackerman Jelly Ochre Van Frans. We have a Visconti Brunelleschi in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Rohrer and Klingner Alt Bordeaux. And you can see the two differences here in that ink. We have a Visconti Opera Master Corvina in a 1.3mm stub 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. We have a Visconti Opera Master Stardust in a 1.3mm 23 karat palladium stub nib, inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero Mediterraneo in a medium 14 karat gold nib, inked up with Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana momento-zero Hawaii in a broad steel nib, inked up with Robert Oster Blue Water Ice. And then last but not least we have a Pelikan M1000 Varden Sunlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Franklin Christoph Sweet Maroon. So there you have it, that's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.